Thank you, and welcome to today's Candidate Forum, brought to you in partnership with the City Club of Central Oregon and the League of Women Voters of Deschutes County, two organizations that are passionately nonpartisan and whose purpose today is to engage and inform Central Oregon voters for the special district election on May 18th. Our goal is to provide an opportunity for fair and impartial discourse, to educate voters about candidates' views on issues, and to stimulate voter interest and participation in the election. Today, we are hosting the candidates for Redmond School District Board positions 1 and 2. The candidates participating today for position 1 are Stephanie Hunter and Sean Hartfield. For position 2 are candidates Rachel M. Visioni, Michael Summers, and Michelle Salinas. The Redmond School District Board of Directors consists of 5 members elected to serve overlapping 4-year terms as non-salaried trustees of the school district. As elected officials, the board is responsible for the scope, depth, and quality of education, and is the official policy-making body of the school district. My name is Kim Scott, League of Women Voters past president, and I'm honored to serve as moderator today. Today's live stream is also made possible by Connect Central Oregon, a nonprofit launched with the assistance of OSU Cascades Innovation CoLab. Our sponsor for the entire series of candidate forums are G5 Digital Marketing, Miller Lumber, Brooks Resources, the Deschutes Public Library, Shearshaw's Group, and Louis Capozzi. We are grateful for their support for these educational forums. If you are interested in supporting City Club or the League of Women Voters, please check out our websites to get more information, cityclubco.org and lwvdeschutes.org. All candidates who are in contested races were invited to participate via email and follow-up phone calls. We do not let a lack of response or an RSVP of regret cancel our forums. We appreciate the gravity of committing to run for office, and our goal is to provide an opportunity for fair and civil discourse. Thank you to the candidates who are participating in today's forum. We will start with 2-minute opening statements. Then each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to answer questions in a rotating order. Questions are taken from the community, members of City Club, and members of the League of Women Voters. At the end, each candidate may give a 2-minute closing statement. For opening and closing statements, we have randomly selected the order. We will start with Stephanie Hunter for her 2-minute opening remarks. Stephanie?
Hello, thank you. I appreciate the invitation this evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, City Club, and my fellow candidates. My name is Stephanie Hunter, and I'm running for Redmond School Board Position 1. I'm a parent and foster parent of students in the district who receive special education services, and I also work as a behavior specialist with families of children with disabilities and mental health needs in the Tri-County area. I currently serve on the board of Central Oregon Disability Support Network. I'm on the Redmond School District Equity Task Force, and I'm a volunteer with a collective of service providers and nonprofits who provide meals and support and connection to our unhoused neighbors here in Redmond. I have my background. I've served on local and state advisory committees, task forces, parent-teacher groups, and boards related to education and human services for over 15 years. I've acted as a collaborative bridge between families and schools for 20 years. As a behavior specialist, I was a child that grew up navigating poverty, foster care placement, and child welfare involvement. And public schools were the key to my resilience and a way out for me. And public education is very important to me. It has everything to do with who I am and where I'm going. I believe my skills and passion and lived experience will benefit our Redmond community as your school board director. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Sean Hartfield, also a position 1. You're next.
Hi, and thank you for inviting me. Thank you, City Club and League of Women Voters. It's nice to see you guys again. I can't believe it's been 4 years since the last time. Time goes by so quickly. So I'm Sean Hartfield. I'm a mother of 3. I have a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 10-year-old that all attend Redmond School District. I have served on the school board for the last 5.5 years, and I decided to go after and actually pursue being on the school board when there was an appointment position available 5.5 years ago. And then I decided to run for re-election. And here I sit again. A little bit about me. I have a unique background that really pulls in a lot of knowledge to bring to the board. I am a Central Oregon Community College instructor of business classes. I've been there for 5 years. I've also, we have a family-run business out in Prineville, and that I help in the HR arena. And also I had 16 years of insurance experience as an employee benefits consultant throughout the United States. So I have a great understanding for business and what it takes to run large agencies successfully. The other thing that I'm very excited about that I just pursued, as we have a huge need for substitute teachers. I've been licensed by TPSC for my restricted substitute license, and I'm excited to get started helping students in the classroom when teachers have to go out, and also backing up teachers when they need that time for family events.
Thank you very much, Dawn. Rachel, now for position 2, Rachel Vicinoni.
Vicinoni, yes. Okay, hi, my name is Rachel Vicinoni. I am running for Redmond School District Board position number 2. I've been living here and raising my now 6-year-old boy here in Central Oregon for almost 6 years. And in that time, I've grown to truly love this community. Since being here, I've been an active member and former secretary of the Altar Society of St. Thomas the Apostle Church. I have participated in several community cleanup efforts, and I have been working, playing, and sending my boy to his brand new school journey here in the area. Other qualifications include being a former preschool level dance and movement teacher, as well as an assistant director and choreographer at a children's community theater. This was all a few years ago in the former place where I lived, but I do feel that this gives me a very unique insight into the way kids' creative minds work. And I always feel that it's important that kids get the chance to express themselves as much as they can. I know that our school system and our amazing teachers have been doing the best that they can to keep parents informed with every new information break that comes. It seems like there's one every other day. And I believe that it's the best way to bring our schools and community back together is through compromise and clear communication. And I just want to thank everybody for inviting me tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Next, Michelle Salinas, also position 2.
Thank you, Kim. My name is Michelle Salinas. I've lived in Central Oregon most of my life. I have 2 small kids who attend the Hugh Hartman dual language program here in Redmond. I'm running for the school board to be more involved with my children's education, so I have more decision-making tools in my pocket. I was the co-chair and business manager for the Yes for RSD Kids back in 2020. That bond I helped pass to put millions of dollars in the Redmond School District. And I would like to continue my involvement with the within the community as far as that goes with the schools. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Michael Summers, also for position 2, your turn.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here. I'm also thrilled that the quality of candidates that are stepping up to step up into a very difficult year. I can't think of a more challenging scenario to step into a school board position. But I got to tell you, I feel like I was born for it, and I'm excited. I keep getting people asking me, why on earth would you do that? And I understand. But it's because I'm super excited about it. There's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of contentious talking out there, and there's so many important things on the table, and I just don't want to sit by and be somebody that just complains about it. I want to step up and shoulder the burden and do that for my kids. I have 4 daughters who are amazing. My older 2 went through the Spanish immersion program at Bear Creek, and my older 2 are fluent, which is I'm super jealous of. My 3rd daughter is at Hugh Hartman as well, so we may we may have some cross connection there. Awesome school, very excited about that. My youngest, Gracie, is 5, and she'll be starting next year in the dual immersion. So that is amazing. I grew up in the Central Oregon school system, and it was amazing. I had the best experience, incredible teachers, incredible staff, great family support. And I want that for my kids. Our area brings in the best and the brightest, and I want them to be resourced. I want them to have a cheerleader. I want them to have somebody that will stand up for them and really kind of be a shield for them. Obviously, there's a lot of points of view out there, and people tend to only share them when it's negative. And so I want to be a school board member that is a shield for our administrators and our teachers, that allows them to do what they need to do when it's the right thing for our kids, and just bring positivity. That's probably my biggest thing. I'm a huge cheerleader, and I'm very excited to have this opportunity. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Michael. Now we go on to the question part. The questions, you will have 90 seconds to answer. The questions will all be rotated. I will state the question first, and then if you need me to restate it when it's your turn to answer, just please ask me. I'm happy to do it. Okay, well, the first question will go first to Sean. Scientific evidence indicates a strong need for masks and vaccines. If elected to the school board, would you incorporate this evidence into school policy and require students, teachers, and staff to wear masks and be vaccinated?
I'm assuming your question is related to COVID-19.
I would assume also.
So, making that assumption, I believe that there still should be parent choice when it comes to vaccinations. And because we see that, yes, there are studies out there that say this can help you fight off COVID. There are also studies out there that if you have had exposure to the COVID-19, sorry, that you actually could have the same immunity. The vaccine still is not FDA approved. So until such time that it is, I, as a school board member, luckily don't make those decisions. It's a medical decision. And I would hope that our state and our legislators would really look at that, along with parents' rights on whether or not they want to get their children vaccinated. The school district right now is holding a vaccination clinic for in the high schools. They're actually not holding it, they're hosting it and it's actually Mosaic Medical that's coming in to offer that to parents that want their students to be vaccinated 16 years and older. When it comes to masks, there is tons of evidence, and obviously we see it in the state right now. They're pulling back masks on kids when they're running, as we've seen a Summit student pass out. So I see the risks are bad that way.
Thank you very much, Sean. Rachel, your same question.
I actually have very strong opinions on this, and I'm going to try to not get too passionate. I believe, again, just as Sean said, that it should be the parents' decision as far as vaccinating children. It should be the teacher's decision as to whether or not they wish to vaccinate. They assume the risk either way, and this should be their decision. As far as masks, there has been overwhelming studies and evidence saying that there is next to no transfer of the virus outdoors, especially if you are careful to social distance. That's a horrible combination of words, 3 feet or more. And I believe, and there is also such overwhelming evidence that children, particularly young ones, are not great spreaders of the virus. So I do believe that a good compromise would be to let the children take their masks off outside and put them back on inside, as I do understand that there is a risk and that people are, very nervous. And I think that's the fairest way, at least at this point, to make sure that everybody is still safe, but also not assuming other risks with their lungs and their soft tissue, and to be healthy.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Next, Michelle.
Thank you, Kim. I believe that we should have the vaccine being highly encouraged to take, but not mandatory, maybe even incentivized, if you will. I do understand that there's going to be certain situations where the cons are outweighed by, or to get your child vaccinated would be worse than to not get them vaccinated. So I believe it should be highly encouraged, but not mandatory until we get more data research out there.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Michael, your question?
All right, so obviously this is a very contentious topic because according to the internet, no matter what you think, you are correct. So there are very, very strong opinions out there. And I think the biggest thing is really trying to rebuild trust between parents and the school districts. We saw a ton of parents pull their kids out of schools because there was a fear of mandatory. There is a lot of data in several, unfortunately, several different directions. I have seen with my own children, I have very confident, awesome, strong girls, and I've seen them come and down with anxiety and different things. I think that there are, and it is very hard for me to watch because my girls are they're a force of nature. I don't see my girls as victims of anything. I want them to be dangerous to the challenges. I want them to step up. And so I don't like anything that creates that anxiety when I don't think the risk reward factor is there. And I think there's a lot of mental health things that we are still to get data on from our kids. The suicides, the depression, the hopelessness, that is a very real, clear and present danger. And I, with the data I see that with young children in particular, it's so small, the risk of death, at least. Obviously there's other issues, but to me the mental health is crucial. And so I don't like the idea of my daughters being in masks all day long.
Thank you very much, Michael. Stephanie, your question?
Thank you, Kim. I had an interesting experience in January of 2020. I was taking a disease and society class at OSU Cascades, and we were asked this question when COVID-19 didn't even have a name yet, but we were hearing about this disease, and we were asked about requiring vaccinations. So it was interesting to be kind of going through that while the class ended when the schools closed. So for me, I mean, when I was asked that question at the time, even before I had this background of experience, I still don't support mandating vaccinations because I believe people should be able to make their own decisions about their body and their health. Masks and social distancing need to continue because our numbers are going up. And we do know that those can be effective. I know that we're having to, even with schools back in, there's quarantine happening with students being back. We have students that have lost family members. We have students that have family members that are suffering these long-term effects of COVID that we don't fully understand yet. So I don't support mandating vaccinations, but I do wish that everyone that could receive a vaccination would, for the health of our community.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Rachel, you'll have the next question. It's a new one. Do you believe age-appropriate sex education should be taught in the schools, and would you limit the information to covering heterosexual examples only?
I would certainly not limit the examples to covering heterosexuality. The world has opened up a lot and acceptance needs to continue. As far as age appropriate, there are a lot of opinions as to what is age appropriate, and that would require a lot of discussion, I think. I couldn't really put my finger on what exactly I would want my 6-year-old, for example, to be learning just yet at this point in life. I do believe in preserving the innocence of young people for as long as you can, but I also believe in the truth. I think it would have to be very strict guidelines as to what would be considered age appropriate, and parents would definitely have to have a say, a majority vote as to what age appropriate is for each grade and each age group. Oh, excuse me.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Michelle, same question.
Well, I think sex ed is great. Oregon law does require that the content be age appropriate, so I don't know if we should revisit that and make changes. I think the parents should definitely have the right to pull their child out of sex ed if they feel that it's too much for that individual child. The parent does know best. I think that it teaches anatomy, emotional health. It teaches body image. I'm a supporter of it. There's always room for improvement, but I do believe in it.
Would you like to say anything about heterosexual versus open in the sex ed?
Yeah, that's a tough question because it's still kind of new, especially being age appropriate. I think that that's where the conversation should start. But I don't have any insight on that. I just don't have the research or data to make a statement for that.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Michael, same question.
All right, you have all kinds of fun questions tonight. This is great. So I think my biggest concern is parents feeling tricked or feeling like something has been slid under the radar. I think if people have, and I know they do have access, but really trying to get parents involved in content. Here's where the content is. It's right here on the website. And I understand parents don't always take the initiative, but I think the biggest thing is making sure we're not making enemies. We're clearly stating this is why. I feel like a lot of parents, myself at times included, have shirked their responsibility in teaching their kids about those kind of things and the body image things in the healthy perspective. We talk about a lot with my girls. I don't want them to be blindsided by something or feel the enticement of a certain thing and all of a sudden feeling wrong or guilty or shame. So we really try to hit it on the head. And I really want to be a champion for resources, so parents can engage these things in a way. It's going to be awkward, it's going to be challenging, but that is fun and engaging and healthy. I don't think it should just be heterosexual, because we live in a world where there's a lot going on, and I don't ever want my girls to think of somebody else in a negative way as a judgment or something where they feel distant or different or other. I want them to understand that other people are valuable.
Thank you very much, Michael. Stephanie, your question.
Thank you, Kim. The curriculum that Redmond School District uses is called Family Life and Sexual Health, and I actually borrow from that curriculum in the work that I do with families. I train parents how to talk to their kids about social relationships, about boundaries, increasing their awareness, because that is how our kids can protect themselves from harm. And not all of our kids are being taught at home. So that is where the school feels a need for our kids to protect themselves from harm, to be able to have the boundaries to say no, all of those things we want in our kids. And I see the harm that occurs when youth don't have good information. And so I want to make sure kids have good information. And Oregon law says that parents can opt out. So if that is something that you are teaching at home, parents can teach it at home, and they can opt out to the sexuality parts of the curriculum. In regards to heterosexual only, I couldn't agree more with Michael. I mean, our kids are in the world. Some of our students have, parents, adoptive parents, or they're, that are in same-sex relationships. I mean, why would be excluding, all relationships and all love that occurs in our community? Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Sean, your question.
Well, from the board member standpoint, I get to have this outlook since I've been on the board for quite some time, and have had experience in looking at curriculum and having scenarios come to the board with questions about these issues. And the state, our job as a board member is to follow the laws of the state, to create policies for our school district that follow the laws, And then from there, the district creates procedures in how to implement those laws. And so definitely it's included in, it's a state law that we have to, as a school district, have sex education in our classrooms and teach all of our students sex education. It absolutely, the content absolutely has to be age appropriate. And I truly believe in a parent's right to review the curriculum so they have that opportunity, if they want it, to discuss with their children. I love Stephanie's answer in protecting our kids. That is vital for us as parents and as board members to make sure that we do have an opportunity to look at curriculum as a board member and decide and help actually approve what's going to come in the classrooms. And if whoever ends up on the board this next time, I would take Stephanie's stance and say, remember, you're supposed to be a protector of these children.
Thank you very much, Sean. Michelle, you're first on the next question. What is your position? Excuse me. Redmond has significant Latinx population. What? Did I miss one? I'm terribly sorry.
Number 3.
Oh, my goodness. I did miss one. Sorry. We're going to start over again. Thank goodness he's got control of the thing. What is your position on guns in school? Should people who have concealed weapon permits be required to check their guns at the door?
You know, I grew up with guns in my household. I went to hunter safety when I was 11. I've shot deers before with my family. So I'm definitely not afraid of having guns. However, I do want our children to feel safe and to be safe, along with our teachers and other faculty members. I do think that having those decisions be made in our community and not be made by someone in a different community is key to that success. I don't know if for the, what is it, 554, I don't know if I'm pro or against it. I just know that I do want our teachers to feel safe, but not affect our rights to owning and holding guns.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Michael, your question?
Yeah, this is obviously a tricky one because there's blanket statements can get tricky with these because there's exceptions and there's all sorts of interesting nuances to this that are tough to fit into 90 seconds. I fully believe in resource officers in the schools. To see the impact of that officer on students was really amazing, like a mentorship. It was very positive, very almost like a big brother scenario. That's obviously my experience of it. I think that's huge. I really believe in that. I totally understand a teacher that has gone through background checks. I think there should be some sort of training bar potentially. Like as I said, there's so many nuances here that also plenty of landmines. But I grew up in a family with firearms and hunter safety, and the responsibility that comes with that is pretty heavy. And so I think most of us have a lot of respect for that. But it's as to the nuance of the policy, that's something that needs to be fleshed out a lot because there's a lot of scenarios that need to be taken into account.
Thank you very much, Michael. Stephanie, you're next on the question.
Thank you. What I really appreciate about this Senate bill is that it is giving back some local control when so much has been taken away. And I also appreciate that one side of the mountain shouldn't be making decisions for the other side of the mountain. And so our communities in Oregon can be very different and have different values. So if presented with this decision, we need to talk to the people who spend the most time in the building, which is the students and the teachers and the staff. And that is who we need to be making that decision with about whether or not that is what they want. We listen to the community as well, but the people I want to hear from are the people that spend most of their time in the building. And in regards to safety, I would like to see us putting as much effort into things like single point of entry and silent panic alarms, so law enforcement can arrive quickly to save lives in active shooter events. We have information to help save lives, and I would like to see equal effort put into that as well. And I know some of that is already happening thanks to the bond.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Sean, your question?
I find your question interesting because you first talk about concealed weapon permits being allowed into the building, or should they be checked in? I absolutely don't believe that our staff should be checking in people's weapons at all. So that part of the question I would like to forego, because I don't think that's reasonable in our school district to ask our front office staff to do that. The first part of the question, however, we do have two policies already in place, JFCJ and KGB, that both talk about handguns and weapons in our buildings, which are not allowed. So there is federal and state law already that does not allow for weapons in our building, including guns. There are some caveats to that in regards to trainings with ROTC. So if the Senate bill passes, I would have to see really, truly how it's going to come up against the federal law, where schools are supposed to be safe zones. Now for our SRO officers, I do believe they are still allowed to have weapons because they are a police officer, just like any police officer coming into the building. And I would not want to see that stopped, because that is first line protection for our kids in case of an emergency.
Thank you very much, Sean. Rachel, your question?
Sometimes it baffles me how different the world is than when I went to high school. I graduated in 1995, and this was not even a thought in anyone's head. But now it is, and it's very much in the foreground, and parents are scared and administrators are scared, and very, very rightly so. That being said, I am an extremely pro Second Amendment individual. I also grew up in a family with firearms, and I've always known exactly how to handle them. However, I live right now in a household where there are no firearms. So it's a little bit of a difference in my life. As far as health and safety for all concerned, I mean, as Michael said, there are so many levels to this question. I believe that it should not be on the school staff to have to be concerned with checking everybody and it should not be their responsibility to be hanging on to other people's firearms. However, there should be some form of safety measures in place, the silent alarms, that sort of thing. I'm glad that that's coming into play. That's extremely important, and I think extremely needed on people carrying permits. I really don't see why they do need to bring them into school. I fail to see why that is necessary, but again, every situation is different. So I guess that's not much of an answer. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it. That's wonderful. All of them were. And remember, all of these come from the community, as well as City Club members and the League of Women Voters. Anyway, so the next question, Michael, you're first up on this one. And this was the one I was trying to do before. Obviously, I wanted it. Redmond has a significant Latinx population. What role can the school board play to ensure inclusivity and safety for the Bipoc, Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities in activities and curriculum?
Yeah, so obviously this is forefront right now. There's a lot of that conversation happening. Even in Central Oregon, it was not super diverse when I was a kid. It's still not super diverse compared to a lot of other places. But I honestly find myself wanting my kids to have the same experience where we're all treated the same, where we're not splitting into smaller and smaller groups, but we are being more and more a family and more a community, more and more tight knit. Where if somebody from another ethnicity or background gets picked on, the school rallies behind that student and says, that's not who we are. This is family. And so I am all for breaking down those kind of barriers. Where I have an issue is the equity scenario becomes, I do believe in equal opportunity. The equal outcomes, I think is not healthy. That's also a very nuanced conversation, but I do want everyone to have the same opportunity there. We all come from different backgrounds. There's poverty, there's different life experiences, but I don't like the idea of unfair advantage, even though, like I said, they're trying to make up for disadvantage in the past, but I don't know that that gets us ahead.
Thank you very much, Michael. Stephanie, your question.
Thank you, Kim. So I grew up in rural Illinois, and I went to Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary School. And I had a rich multicultural education. And, despite being in a high poverty, school, I loved my early education. And that is something when I became a parent, living in a whiter state, I intentionally have been teaching my daughter and my foster son about different lived experiences. So I mean, that's something that's happening at home. I know that's she is getting that education at school as well. Both of them are. From the looking at it from the Redmond Equity Task Force and what we're working on, the things that we've identified are 3 priority areas. The priority area 1 is looking at discipline policy, and is there disproportionate discipline for students with disabilities, students navigating poverty, students of color, Latinx students, a diverse workforce. 24% of our students are Latinx, to 6% a diversity of our teaching staff. So a diverse workforce. So the kids can look and see someone that looks like them and understand what it's like to be them. And then we're looking at training, equity training, and what that looks like for teachers and staff. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Sean, your question.
Thank you. I am excited for the things that we've already done in the school district and from a board level. We had the opportunity to create the Equity Task Force and to approve that going forward. So that is a great accomplishment to see what it is that we need to create opportunities for Latinx and other areas of our community, even with disabled children. That's looking at equity, and I look forward to seeing what comes from that. The other thing that has been exciting for us in this school district is creating the dual language school and program. And I was at Sage. I was very disappointed that my son missed it by 2 years because I would have had him in it. My other children were much too old, but I was super excited that we developed that program and brought it into Redmond. Being on the Sage Elementary PTC while the dual language started there, we brought the community together. We brought the parents in from the dual language, and we created harvest festivals and things that created part of the culture of the Spanish culture, and really trying to draw those parents in and children in, and they were very successful. The other thing that we have in Redmond School District is Juntos, and that's another program that supports our Latinx community.
Thank you very much, Sean. Rachel, your question.
I actually grew up in a community where being a Caucasian, being a white person was, I was actually the minority, but I did not even know that. I had no idea that I was any different until I was about 14 or so, when teenagers start to become a little bit more territorial over their own lives. And I look back on that and I remember how marvelous it was to be just free to be friends with everybody, to have a community with everybody, and for everybody to feel like they're together on every problem that arises, to feel that they're working as a team and that there's no threat from anybody. And that's what I would love to see my son grow up in. I know that this community is becoming more and more diverse, which is fantastic. And I want him to grow up in a space where he can look at anybody and go, human. And that's it. Human, person, individual, gem, you know, jewel of a person. And I think that that's incredibly important, that we do that, in our schools, that we include all the beautiful histories, all the beautiful cultures, and to just make it feel like it's all important, because it is. It's absolutely all important. And it's the more that we know, the more we can pull together as a community. And that's what's top priority in my mind.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Michelle, your turn.
Thank you, Kim. I have 2 small kids who go to school. They are multiracial, and I am 100% in supportive of the Latinx developments. I want to continue that. I am definitely wanting, I mean, we have an interpreter here, which probably wouldn't have been here in other Zoom meetings, just for the Spanish speaking people. We need to allow them the same inclusion that we're all here, that we all have. So first of all, the interpreter is great. The bilingual program, I'm honored to represent just as a mother. So I am 100% in support of that. Absolutely. We need to continue it just full front. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Next question, Stephanie, you'll have this first. What are your priorities for using the federal funding the district receives from the CARES Act or other pandemic recovery funds?
Well, I'm not sure what's going on with summer programming. So that would be one potential possibility for that. What I would like to, Oregon Department of Education provided some input already on the guidelines and what that can look like based on really good research, focusing on emotional health and wellness, unfinished learning needs, and enrichment. So summer programming, however, summer programming usually has to start the planning process. It has to start way earlier than this. So I don't know what that's going to look like. And I know that we've already asked a lot of our teachers and staff to do magical things very, very quickly. So summer programming, if that happens, I would also like to see enrichment for parents. There's a lot of great models where parents are also getting enrichment experiences like the Incredible Years. And I would love to see a focus on cyber, learning about the cyber world and social media. Parents really need a lot of information about that. That's one of the #1 things I'm teaching. If summer programming can't happen, a strong re-entry plan with individualized attention for those students who we really need to get re-engaged in their education.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Sean, your question.
So there definitely are strings attached to the federal funding. So there are buckets that it can go into, and the one that I am full in support of that we've talked about on the board and have approved is summer school. So that planning has already started and it will happen. The great thing is, even though we might think our teachers are exhausted and don't want to possibly sign up, we have more than enough teachers that are willing, because they know that these kids need to catch up. There's a lot of learning loss across the board with our students. So identifying that learning loss and the gaps that are there is also a priority in that funding, to figure out what kids do we need to bring in, which ones need special attention beyond all those kids that were on IEPs and with the learning disabilities already. They are going to require more attention and more time to make up for what they've lost over the last year plus without being in school. There are other areas that the ESSER 1, 2, and 3 go into. We still don't know what we're going to really get from the state from the ESSER 3. So we won't start planning that until later, but we will see.
Thank you very much, Sean. Rachel, your question?
Oh, no, okay, there we go. Sorry, a little problem with my mute there. I very much agree with both Sean and Stephanie. After school programs and summer learning programs are going to be key in order to catch our children up. My son is just starting his educational experience. He went to preschool, but this is his first experience doing all day, every day, in school. And I don't want him to fall behind as he's just starting. So I really understand and fully support the concern behind that. Also, I think a lot of the focus should be on some kids with special needs as well. I am dyslexic, and through most of my schooling, that was not recognized. It was not something that was supported, or I got a lot of, she has a lot of potential, but she doesn't try. But I would rather see my son lifted up and supported, tutors, special programs, just really focus on places where people truly need the help, because it's different for everyone. And I know that's asking a lot because we have a lot of students, but I do believe that there are ways to bring it all around and to make all the kids feel like they're on par with each other.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Michelle, same question.
I don't know a lot about the ACT. I looked it up online a little bit, and I'm interested to be more involved in like how the funds are being allocated. I do think the schools have done a good job with the short notice that COVID all gave us and the severity of it. But we do have a lot of work moving forward. Just going to echo right along with Stephanie and Shauna and Rachel. I think we're all kind of on the same page with that. We just need to pick it up and go, and how the funds are being allocated is something that I'm interested in.
Thank you very much. Michael, your question.
Yeah, so obviously we have a monumental task of catching our kids back up. I feel like we owe it to them to really lift the weight and really fight for them. I'd love to see some fund allocation in community outreach. I don't know if it's to retired educators or professionals that have a background in that, but really engaging community organizations to try and lighten the burden. Obviously, the teachers, administrators are pretty fried from last year, and we're doing some heroic work, but really finding some partnerships that can help lighten the load. I think the mental health piece is massive. Really putting some time and effort into studying what's going on with our kids. There's potential PTSD from last year with all the traumatic existential crisis that our kids got to deal with last year. I got to just be a kid when I was a kid, and I'm very grateful, but my kids, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety. And so that piece is massive. If you're not in a good space mentally or with your mental health, learning is very difficult. There's just a lot of roadblocks there that we need to really try and instill some hope in our kids that, hey, you know what, that was hard, but what if you were born for this task? What if you were, what if this is your moment to rise up and think of how tough you are now because you went through 2020, and what are you going to do with that? And giving them something to work towards that gives them a vision, that gives them some hope, and gives them some courage to stand up to the challenge.
Thank you very much, Michael. Next question, Sean, you're first to answer this one. What are your thoughts on transgendered individual use of bathrooms and/or participating in sports of their chosen gender at school?
For bathrooms, I think everybody has to respect each other, and we have definitely policies for equal opportunities within the school. So respecting the person coming in, the the respecting the people that are in there to make sure everybody feels comfortable. I think that's where we start. I know that we don't necessarily have a policy in regards to transgender bathrooms. So I believe, you know, in those situations, people are encouraged to use the restroom they feel the most comfortable in, and to respect those people that are in there and their privacy and how they feel. In regards to sports, we already see girls and boys playing sports together. We see wrestlers, girls and boys wrestlers, wrestling against each other. So whether they're choosing a gender that isn't necessarily their biological gender, I don't think that that changes much. I guess when I get concerned is when we're talking about, as we get older, women that are women and choose to be women don't get to grow as big and strong as men. So when we're competing against men, or men are competing against women, that becomes a really tough situation for women athletes. So.
Thank you very much, Sean. Rachel, your question?
A lot of my feeling on that echoes what Sean has to say. I actually did grow up playing untraditional sports. I wrestled for my high school, and I sat the bench most of the time, but I was the first female to play football at my high school. And I believe that there are a lot of barriers being broken, and I think that's wonderful. Bathrooms, I think a lot of it does come down to respect of privacy. I absolutely agree with that. If that trust gets broken, it needs to be dealt with. Hopefully it does not get broken. But I think we need to educate the students on that matter. Please respect the privacy. You may use, obviously you can use the bathroom of the gender you identify with, but we are all trusting each other now. And this is for everybody. As far as sports, I also echo what Sean said. It's fine at for example, the grade level where my boy is, because he's very, very young. But as biology changes the human body, sometimes I wonder if we are cheating natural women of their chance to become great in any specific sport because someone who is larger and stronger is competing against them. That might not be a popular opinion, but sometimes I do wonder.
Good answer. Michelle, your question?
I have a few transgendered friends, and I think it all comes down to respect and taking their feelings and comfortability into consideration. So it's just all about respect and communicating, educating. Not very many people know around here transgendered people or friends or family. So it's just all about having that open dialogue, open communication, showing them respect. And on the flip side of that, showing people who don't know a lot about transgendered people giving them the same respect and educating them. And it's just all about an open dialogue and their comfortability, really, on both sides. Now with the sports, yeah, I'm with Sean and Rachel on that. It's hard where you can draw the line of, okay, they're in 7th grade, it can't happen anymore, or they're in 10th grade, it can't happen anymore. So I think that probably needs to be a conversation that we would have, but I don't want to cheat out, like Rachel was saying, a woman who is naturally born a woman, cheating her out of something that she's worked really hard towards, maybe, or something of that nature. So that's definitely a discussion I would love to continue.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Michael, your question?
All right. So this is all pretty fresh as far as it's kind of landed within the last several years, has really come to the forefront. I went to school with a trans student, and I loved him. I really did, and we had a lot of interesting conversations. I'm so curious about those kind of things because I have no idea. I have no idea what's the emotions are there, what it feels like to be that way. And my biggest thing with my daughters is I never ever want to hear about you ever treating anyone as if they aren't just the most valuable. You know, I don't believe there's such a thing as an invaluable person. So the bathrooms are tricky. My daughters went to Bear Creek and there was a trans student there. And so we had to like kind of get our, kind of wade in and like, okay, here's a bunch of questions that my daughters have for me. And how do I answer this? And how do we talk to this? And how do we set the stage for this? And so it's a very real thing that we needed to talk about. I know that the 3 bathrooms seems to be a pretty reasonable. I've seen that in several spots where there's a men's bathroom and a women's bathroom, and then there's a third option. So if people feel like they just want a single unit for privacy purposes, that makes sense to me. The sports thing is tricky because my daughters, I want them to have a fair shot at scholarships. So I'm wrestling with all of those things as well. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Michael. Stephanie, you have a question?
Thank you. So we have anti-discrimination laws for a reason. Trans boys are boys, trans girls are girls. These anti-trans bills are about children playing sports with their friends. At elite levels, there's testing for hormones and there's different requirements. These bills are it's setting children up for violence. It's setting children up for suicide. It's condoning discrimination against children, and I will never support harming children. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Next question.
The last one.
And this is our last question. Rachel, you'll be first. If you could make any changes in the current Redmond School District curriculum, what would you change and why? Rachel?
Yes, no, I'm here. Sorry, I'll take a moment to think. My son and I were just starting out on this journey together, and I've tried to make it a point to stay very educated as to what is coming next, and yet trying not to get too ahead of myself, because that is a problem I definitely have. I believe that the district did the right thing in the beginning when COVID first became a threat and shut everything down, because we had no idea what we were dealing with, none at all. And now that the schools are opening back up, I believe that there needs to be a lot of open discussion as to how we're going to view everything from here on out, because the term new normal, as much as everybody hates that that terminology, it's real, and things are going to be looked at differently now. Things are going to change rapidly, and they're going to continue to change, and I hope they do, because this world is very, very wide. As far as specific changes, I have nothing in mind, but I do believe that I want to be included as a parent, and I think that's how we all feel. We want to be completely included. We don't want to be left out of anything.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Michelle, your question?
Thank you. I would probably want to reevaluate the standardized testing. I think it's an older method that can definitely use an update. The standardized testing, I think, is a really good tool for the teachers to gauge where the students are at and where they can go. But that solely by itself, I don't think is a good representation of their full absorption of the education that the teacher is giving them. I think that if we base everything on one test, it's kind of biased. They could have not gotten breakfast that day. They could have been beaten that day. So you don't know what these children are going through. And I think to put all of that onto one test is not right. I definitely think it needs to be included with a more diverse curriculum. And that's what I would like to see moving forward.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Michael, your question?
All right. First, I would love to see some more curriculums based on trades. There is going to be a massive deficit for plumbers, electricians, real world dirty jobs like Mike Rowe, because we need them. We need them a lot, and so that would be awesome. I think as far as standardized testing, I'm not a huge fan of them because I feel like our teachers are amazing and have a pretty good idea of individual students. They can at any given time give you a pretty good snapshot of where their kids are. Also, the data from the standardized test comes later in the year or the next year, so you don't really have a good opportunity to implement that data to like making a new plan for the student. So to me, it's not super valuable. Also, it takes a lot of time out of in-class teaching. So one test can take several hours, which can be weeks of in-class instruction, and that's super valuable to weigh whether or not that's worth it or not. So the teachers can accomplish a lot with those hours spread out over the weeks. So anyway, that's probably all I have on that one. Actually, I'm going to stop myself.
Thank you very much, Michael. Stephanie, your question?
Kim, could I ask you to repeat the question, please?
If you could make any changes in the current Redmond School District curriculum, what would you change and why?
Thank you. I'll bring my behavioral health lens into this question. I would incorporate a universal social emotional learning curriculum for our kids and teachers and staff. I know that behavior problems take up a lot of time and a lot of resources. And we have the High Desert ESD ready and waiting to provide that support. There's a tiered system called response to intervention. We have tier 1, which is, it's a pyramid. And at the bottom of that is tier 1, and that is all of our kids. And some of our kids are not being taught how to behave at home. And they are now at risk of not graduating, other things that can happen when they're not getting that social emotional learning need met. So at that bottom part where we're building that foundation, a really strong social emotional curriculum where kids are learning how to be students, how to regulate themselves, and teachers are learning how to model those skills and how to teach those skills and reinforce those skills. At the upper tiers of the kids that I work with, tier 2 and tier 3, those are the kids that are going to need more support, maybe in small group instruction, or maybe they'll need, one-on-one support. But if we have that foundation and it's across the district, then we're going to have less kids at the top of the pyramid. So that's what I would like to see.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Sean, your question.
All right. For curriculum, I would look at, when we're looking at elementary and middle school, the one thing that Redmond School District has been missing all these years is really rigorous curriculum for kids that are higher achievers. We have not done, when we talk about equity inclusion, the one thing we haven't ever truly addressed is these kids that are excelling and need something more rigorous. And we haven't put anything truly into that basket for them to create a program like TAG, which we really have nothing funded for in this district. And I would love to see that, because these kids deserve to get pushed to the level that they can achieve. The other thing that I think is important in our school district to be changed is in our elementary schools, we need to have more extracurricular activities. We have a lot of opportunities for middle school and high schoolers, but we don't have a lot of engagement across our elementary schools to keep those kids engaged. And that's where we really start building community for our school district, is keeping those kids engaged into the elementary school, like chess club or Lego or robotics. So those are some of the things that I'd like to see changed.
Thank you very much, Sean. And thank you all for your excellent and thoughtful answers. You really did a great job. We will now move into the closing statement, and Michael Summers on position 2, you will be first.
All right, well, I just am honored to be amongst you. It's been really fun getting to know, even though it's over Zoom. hopefully I would love to work with any of you. It would be an honor. It's really neat to see. I am just very excited about the task ahead of us. I'm excited to see what we can do with this. My word for 2020 was reframe. So take the negative, take the heavy things and turn them into a positive. And that's really what I want to do with the school district. I want to be a massive encourager of our teachers and our staff in the district. They just took on a pretty epic, unprecedented scenario, and they need some wins. They need some support. I would love to see really rally the parents who also got beat up last year too, and are also super thankful for our teachers. But really rallying the parents to really surround our schools and really prop them up and really do some incredibly heroic things to make it up to our kids this year. And I would just love to be a part of that. I don't want to be a part of the negative, the axe grinding, the single issue, board member that's just there to make a point about something. I really want to do this in a positive way. I'm a joyful person. And I feel like that could be a really powerful thing for Redmond schools, knowing that we got this, that we're an awesome, healthy, great community full of some of the best and brightest people in the world have come to our area because it's amazing. Let's have the most incredible schools anywhere around with the most supportive and informed parents that are excited, that aren't on separate teams. We want parents so bad to be engaged. We don't want the combative nature that this can lead to. So really that is a huge thing for me. I'm a bridge builder. And that's what I want to do. I want to connect to everybody and really, let's do this. Let's take on this challenge. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Next is Michelle Salinas, also for seat 2.
Thank you. I think that Michael and I might have had a little bit different upbringing with school. I did not have a good family support. I was abandoned when I was a teenager, and I had no outreach from Redmond High. I had to drop out and then re-enroll myself after a few months when I had to take care of some things. So nobody from the school reached out to me to see where I was at or to show that they cared. So I think you and I kind of differ, which I think is an asset for me, just my life experience. I have tons of grit. I'm a hard worker. I'm dedicated. I am an advocate for the underprivileged. I'm a part of a D&I group in my career. I promote people in my career, so I have both sets of backgrounds, personal and educational. So I think that with my experiences, I'd be a great candidate, and I'm super excited to put my spin on it, be in there, give my opinions, listen, be transparent. I do agree with you, Michael. We do need to bring the community, the parents, the guardians. We need to, they need to be more involved so we can all work together. I think that everyone here also works really hard. You're here. This is a tough thing to do. And we're here and we all want to make a change. So thank you all for coming. And for the women, I'm like shaking, the Women's Voters League, or the League of Women's Voters, sorry, and City Club for having me. And I really did enjoy the open dialogue. It was very refreshing. And Kim, you made it so nice at the beginning with your comic relief.
Thank you. Yes, my family laughs at me all the time. Next will be Rachel Visanoni.
Ah, you got it. Yay. Thank you very much for having me here. This has truly been an honor. It's been really amazing to actually finally put faces to everybody and to hear everybody speaking their views. And I just want to say I respect you all so much. Thank you. Thank you for hearing me and for allowing me to hear you. So thank you for that. I have a little bit of a disadvantage compared to some of you. I've not been in this community very long, but as I said, the moment I set a toe in here, I was in love. I love the sense of community, the sense of you walk down the street, you run into at least 5 people that you know. I love that. I love that. And I want to make sure that that passion and that sense of community is a part of our schools as well. I'm very focused on certain things, yes, but I also want to bring the kind of passion that I bring into everything, into all forms and all areas of the school district, for the administrators, for the teachers, for the students, for the parents, for everybody. I am a very passionate person. I do go straight for the jugular. I really can't help myself. It's the red hair. And I do feel that having really strong voices on the board is absolutely key to bringing education back up to where it needs to be, to bringing the students back into their confident place where they feel like they can do this again, where they're not dreading school, where they're not confused or feeling confined, and where they're feeling included. I think it's incredibly important. And I think every single one of us here is more than qualified to do that.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Sean Hartfield, who is running for position 1.
Thank you. Through the last 5.5 years on the school board, I have so many proud moments. And I definitely want to continue those moments. Some of those definitely I've talked about tonight, like the dual language program being opened and continuing to grow every year. We've also had the ability to do an entire full review and update of our board policies. And I'll tell you, it's binder after binder after binder of policies, but it's so valuable for us as board members to go through, update them, understand them. So I'm proud that I have done that work. Also, I've been successful on the bargaining committee with bargaining with both of our unions, our classified and our certified, every year running. Keeping our fingers, we're into bargaining right now, and I believe we'll have another successful year and have developed strong relationships with both of our unions. We've also had successful financial audits, which are very important to government agencies. So the fact that my work on the board has led us to that, I think is a great success. Also, this past 1.5 years, we first attracted and have hired a new superintendent that I think is very capable and is a great leader. And he's had an uphill battle ever since he got here, like most superintendents across the state. And the other thing I'm very proud of and will continue to do if I'm re-elected to this position, is continue to advocate for our parents in our community. Over the last year, during the pandemic, our parents, 90 to 95% of our parents wanted our kids back in school, and I was their voice, and I will continue to be their voice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean. Stephanie Hunter, also running for position 1. You're next.
Thank you. I just want to echo what everyone is saying. I'm loving the civic engagement and everybody getting involved, and the total vibe. So appreciate you all. So I've chosen to participate in this very public process because I'm invested in our kids and their future and not our past. And moving forward in education, I know that it has been a tough year. We've suffered a collective trauma as a community, and we've accomplished things that we didn't think were possible before. We have some kids that have thrived in the combination of distance learning and hybrid. And one of the things, I bring that lens as a parent of kids with disabilities and someone that works with kids with disabilities, and innovation in education has often been driven by the needs of our kids that learn differently. So let's look at those lessons learned. Let's see how we can grow forward from this adversity that we've all been through and heal from it. I know that as a board member, I'm going to be reading 200-page packets, and Sean mentioned stacks of binders. I'm going to be getting emails from people that are angry, people that are hurting. I'm going to be faced with decisions that are going to keep me awake at night. And there's also the joy of being able to be a part of Redmond and our future. And I love this community, and I love the helping spirit that exists in this community. And I know that, you know, we can, you know, it's been a divisive year, but I see neighbors caring for neighbors. I see unimaginable generosity. I see opportunity for dialogue and connection. I'm a problem solver for a living, and I want to be part of healing and connection in our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Thank you to all the candidates for participating in today's forum. You guys have all been great. And thanks to the League of Women Voters of Deschutes County and City Club of Central Oregon for partnering to get this information out. Remember, if you enjoyed today's forum and would like to help cover the costs, please consider making donations to City Club on their website at cityclubco.org. And if you are interested in becoming a member or making a contribution to the League of Women Voters of Deschutes County, please contact them through their website at lwvdeschutes.org. Thanks again to our Candidate Forum series sponsors, G5 Digital Marketing, Miller Lumber, Brooks Resources, the Deschutes Public Library, Shearshaw's Group, and Louis Capozzi. Without their support, we would not be able to bring you forums that make and keep democracy strong. The next candidate forum will be the Redmond Area Park and Rec candidates for positions 1 and 2 on May 6th at 5:30 p.m. on the City Club of Central Oregon YouTube channel. All City Club and League of Women Voters of Deschutes County candidate forums are available to watch from links on the lwvdeschutes.org website. The School Board Candidates Forum will have Spanish translations available. Thank you for your interest and in keeping democracy alive. This was pre-recorded at an earlier time. Thank you for watching.